right, very good. So we have a couple of questions from viewers who want to talk about the 50-foot dedicated area for environmental reasons, water quality reasons. That we've discussed this on several programs over the course of this year. And as it turns out, we have, I think, a little news to report. That issue is generating a little interest. Let's start with you, Senator Eakin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where that's at in the Senate? And because I think that's really kind of a hot topic at this point.
Yeah, well, there's a hearing taking place on it tonight as we speak, and it is a hot topic, and it's an important topic. I do believe that the 50-foot proposal is a one-size-fits-all model that we should be wary of. I think pursuing one-size-fits-all kind of models, and you need to take into consideration, obviously, the type of water that you're talking about, the type of land, the use of the land around it. So I've always been leery of using one-size-fits-all kind of models. And I also think that you need to take into consideration economic impacts and take into consideration the fact that the ag economy right now has been taking a downturn, and farmers have been getting caught with the increasing land values. And even though the economy has been turning downward, the ag economy tends to be counter-cyclical. So when the general economy is doing better, oftentimes the farm economy is struggling more. And so I think that we have to be conscious of that, sensitive to that fact, that right now a lot of farmers are getting caught with increasing property taxes and lower income. And so I think that we need to also think about that as we're looking at regulations that may impose greater costs. I do think that, obviously buffer strips are important as well, and the way that I think you best accomplish that goal is through more carrots and getting RIM dollars, for instance. And I think the RIM program, the Reinvest in Minnesota, is an outstanding program that farmers can take advantage of, and that does result in more buffer zones and things of that nature, which I think are very beneficial both to the farmer and to the environment. So, those RIM dollars, by the way, the RIM dollars that we do allocate or get through the Minnesota legislature leverages about 3 times as much money from the federal government. And I always point out to people that we don't get back as much from the federal government as we put in. This is one good way to get more of those dollars back here into Minnesota. And so I've always been more a supporter of the carrot rather than the stick. And the RIM program is a good carrot.
Senator Senjum, your thoughts?
And I certainly agree with the statement here on the RIM program. And we've, over the years, put a fair amount of bonding money into RIM, and appropriately so. And hopefully we can continue to do that. I've not been a part of any committee discussion on this bill, nor, frankly, have I read it. But it certainly does raise questions anytime you're going to, if you will, take land from someone. It does raise, I think, appropriate questions. How do you do it? Is it an easement? Is it a taking? What are the reimbursements back to the farmer? All those things. And I wouldn't, frankly, wonder, what a river is, what a stream is, what a ditch down the middle of the field might be. How much of this covers. So I'm sure probably within the bill a lot of this is defined, but I think it's going to be a pull to move this through. We do happen, by the way, to do this in Dodge and Olmsted County at the time, and frankly, I guess it seems to have worked pretty well. But it was done locally by the county boards through ordinance, and not a lot of debate.
Here's why we have to take it seriously. We don't want to become what's happening in Iowa, where Des Moines is suing 3 rural counties over issues like this. I'm on the House Environment Committee. Haven't been on that a while, but back there this year. And in testimony, one of the farmers' groups used that term, taking, that farmers consider this a taking. Now, we aren't taking the land. They're using it in a different way. But he said they consider it a taking. And so I felt compelled to speak for those millions of other people in our state for whom clean water, swimmable, drinkable water is something that they expect and deserve. And as I think this is a quote from the governor, the water belongs to everyone. And so that same argument about taking could relate to the water, all those millions who want that water cleaned. If we allow one entity to continue to have pollution flow into that water, there could be citizens in this state who describe that as a taking, that quality of water is being taken from them. So it does seem to me we can't be head in the sand about this. We have got to look at a reasonable way to do this. And so I've been very supportive of the governor's initiative. I think he's very courageous on this, and I think he's headed in the right direction.
I haven't been directly involved in a committee that's been dealing with the Zeeman Ag policy. If they talked about it, I wasn't there. But I've been talking to farmers, and I know there's a lot of concern. And the question I have, I happen to live along the Otter Tail River. I live right on, as close to the water as you can get, I guess. Now, is this going to bother, do I have to give up 50 feet of my backyard under this regulation? I mean, if the farmers have to, wouldn't those that live along the river be under the same restrictions or regulations? I don't know. It would be less lawn to mow, but it would look horrible. It wouldn't look good. So I just have a question. And I think the best way, and I agree with Senator Eakin, I think it has to be case by case. We have a lot of ditches in Otter Tail County that only have water in them during the spring, just for a short time, or unless they have a heavy rain, but that's unusual. So a lot of our ditches are just there. And why you have to have this 50-foot buffer strip along that entire area just doesn't really make sense.
I think we shouldn't farm right up to the edge of the water, and we shouldn't have fertilized mown lawn right up to the edge. Around Como Lake, we used to have grass right up to the edge of the lake until we understood that none of the water was getting filtered. And so we allowed vegetation to grow up around it. It took a little education on the part of some people. They actually thought St. Paul must be trying to save money or something. They're not mowing here. But it was intentional, and it begins to gradually change the water quality. So I think it would be the same for lawns and for crops.
I don't want to dwell on it, but I do have about a 4-foot strip that I just let grow. So I think this is going to be interesting as we move forward, but we have to be, I think, slow and not just unilateral. That's not